Yes, we get drunk today. We scroll. Some people get blazed and others get high in the shadows. But in general, we forgot how to get high together. And this is making us sick. There's a natural longing within man to get non-sober, to get altered. And I don't think this is a bug as much as a feature of life. In fact, I've come to see getting high together as the foundation of culture and positive mental health. And forgetting how to do it is killing us. So let's talk about it. Me personally, I'm not your average shaman or spiritual hippie, touting around plant medicines. I'm someone who went to an Ivy League school. I dropped out, became an addict. I've tried most substances and spiritual practices on the planet. And now I'm 99% sober. So I'm in a very unique position to talk about ceremony in a grounded way. To be honest with y'all, I don't know if I'd be alive today or even able to have this conversation unless I had ceremony in my life. Not only did I heal from a very turbulent past, I'm also one of the most authentic, open, and fully expressed people I know. I try to say that as humbly as possible, but if you do know me in my real life, you know what I'm talking about. So in this video, I want to share why getting high together is actually a spiritual need, why men of the West are starved for ritual, for ceremony, and how the ancients used ritual to heal trauma, bond community, and touch the divine. Welcome back to Wisdom Warriors. My name is Christian. I'm here in Mexico, the land of shamans, peyote, and DMT toads. Let's talk about medicine. I was just at a bioculture retreat in San Pancho, Mexico. And within a few hours of getting there, we were entering a Temezcal, which is a traditional Mexican steam lodge. It was pitch black and I was surrounded by 20 people deep in prayer. At the center, we had an amazing facilitator, a true sage and medicine man, and he would chant and sing and carry the experience from highs to lows. We sat and sweated through unbearable heat for nearly an hour, and I'm strong and I barely made it through this. At one point, the door flap opened and the leader looked into my eyes and he said, "Sometimes we must let parts of ourselves die, and other times we must kill parts of ourselves." And he said it with such quiet intensity that it sent shivers down my spine. My entire body had goosebumps because I knew it was some higher intelligence speaking through him, speaking to the parts of me, the addictive parts of me that are always dissatisfied with life and always hungry for more and are suicidal in their self-sabotage. Right after he said that, I was filled with great spiritual will and we were plunged back into darkness, and the drums were beating and people were chanting and singing at the top of their lungs. And I just felt this pulsing in the darkness as my body and my soul were washed clean. When we got out of the Temezcal, like crawling out to fresh air, oh my God. And then we got into the ocean. And me and all of these people, it felt like a baptism or a rebirth ceremony. And I'm gonna refrain from giving you too many details because I know that, oh, I was reborn can sound so corny, but it was real. I recount this Temezcal experience to give you a glimpse of ceremony. So much of the bioculture retreat was ceremonies of play, expression, or an inner journey. And though I'm very skeptical of ceremonies today, real ceremonies like the one I described are very capable of changing myself, changing individuals, and binding groups of people together. And it's why they're so important. The primitive consciousness was basically perpetually in a state of religious rapture, and their lives revolved around heightened states of festivity, war, or ritual. One of these festivities in ancient Greece would have been the great mysteries of Eleusis, where both kings and slaves gathered together to get high. They would drink a primitive LSD, and hierophants and priestesses would guide the initiates into an experience of the underworld and rebirth. Most Athenians, like Plato, were initiates of the mysteries, and Cicero, speaking of the mysteries, said, "It educated men out of their savage ways and taught them how to live happily." Let me say that again in a different way. Both Plato and Cicero drank psychedelic brews, and they credited getting high together as the foundation of civilization and a better relationship with death. Wild. Ancient Indo-European peoples had a variety of festivals and ritual experiences at the very center of social life. In fact, all tribes and traditions across the globe had ritual at the foundation of culture. So I would define ceremony by two important components. Number one is the fun part, and that is getting high together. The second part is having sacred space to feel the darkness. This is how to get high properly, is if you're gonna do altering substances or a sweat or a dance or some kind of devotion or meditation, if you incorporate space to actually feel, process, and release the darkness, you're creating a sacred container for transformation. And this is how to get high properly. The best part is after you process and purge whatever is blocking your essence, you have this radical celebration with your friends in a way where your hearts are actually connected. And I would say this is actually what we all long for in our human experience. So many people, as Joseph Campbell once said, think they're searching for the meaning of life, when in reality, they're looking for a deeply meaningful experience of being alive. And in order to have that experience, we must have the courage to face what needs to be faced, to free ourselves so that we can meet each other in a really good way. That's what ceremony is for. And that's why it heals the self and heals the community. And this might sound really far out there for people who have never danced or never had one of these experiences before. But I literally don't think humans can be healthy without Dionysic experiences of some kind. Experiences where you go beyond the ego rational mind and have a completely different relationship and feeling to the world. It is in these irrational experiences that we can connect to deeper parts of our own psyche and our own body and release the blocks that inhibit us, that limit us. And this is what medicine is. I don't think medicine, like plant medicine, is necessarily just a drug. I would define medicine as literally a dimension of existence. It's this other world that we can access through plant medicines or dance and ritual of some kind or breath work. And we can access this world, and this world is there to help clear the blocks that block us from our essence. You see, inside of all of us, we have this essence, our superior self, our divine self. And around this essence is all the programming of how our parents taught us to be, of how our parents loved us, of school and social, education and what our friends told us we should be. And then we have all of our ego desires and dreams and aversions and programming on top of that. We have all of these distortions to our essence. And the point of medicine is to drop your consciousness deep into the essence, into the fabric of who you are, and start to vibrate it. And basically release all the distortions, release all the blocks that block you from your natural peace, power, and play, from your essence, from your dharma. And this is the point of medicine, because we can get so trapped in our limited ego, into the blocks in our body, into basically dis-ease in the world. But when you can access your essence through dance and ritual and ceremony and sweat and substances and things of this nature with community, you come into a place of pure heart and pure truth with yourself. Now, this might sound a little woo-woo to anyone who hasn't experienced this themselves, but what I'm telling you is this is the foundation of real, rapid psychological personal change and community bonding. It's been the center of every culture, tribe, and tradition for a reason. It's because medicine, we all need it. We all need it to some degree, especially in our world right now, where we are underloved, we are underexpressed, and we are overfed bullshit on every level. We need medicine more than ever. So that's why I'm making this video. And I will link Bioculture's retreats and Instagram in the description. You can go check them out. I highly encourage it. I'm in Sayulita, Mexico right now. And the other day I sat down to breakfast and I ran into this older gentleman. And this guy was a Top Gun fighter pilot, very successful entrepreneur. And he opened up to me and he shared about his Temezcal experience. This guy who's a very straight shooter, hasn't done much, psychedelics or anything like that. And he told me that 17 years before the Temezcal, his daughter had died. And he never really had processed it with his family or with anyone. But the medicine and the darkness and the drumbeat it changed something in him. And when he got out of the Temezcal, out of the steam lodge, he called his son and talked to his son for the first time about his daughter's death. Like, how wild is that? For all the skeptics out there, consider that this man held on to the grief and trauma of a child dying until he accessed the world of medicine, and the world of medicine cleared something from him. I've seen this happen in my own life and the lives of countless others. It's really what medicine does, is it opens you. Now, with that being said, the world of medicine is also uncomfortable, chaotic, powerful, scary at times. And this is one reason that medicine gets a bad rap, is it can cause psychosis in people. It is a crazy world of substances and shamans and hippies and all this shit going on. So I want to talk about ayahuasca. For me, when I did ayahuasca, I've only done ayahuasca once, and it was horrible experience that transformed me forever. For 4 hours, I sat there dying. Like, my consciousness and ego were fractured so deeply. And I witnessed everyone I loved die repeatedly, over and over. I witnessed the universe and this entire world collapse into oblivion. And then I came back from that. And that experience, that prolonged encounter with death and dying, changed me in a deeper way than anything in the sober world ever could. An experience like that is what I would call a masculine initiation, a direct encounter with suffering and death that leaves someone profoundly changed forever. Having a profound encounter with death before you actually die, this is important, and this is actually the foundation of the mystery rites of Eleusis, the mystery initiations across the entire ancient world. It's also the foundation of my book. I wrote a lot about this. Now, this integration I spoke of with ayahuasca, the process of writing an entire book and like changing my personality and my character and living with sobriety, this is the part a lot of the spiritual hippies miss. You see, actual spiritual growth often gets confused with psychedelics. You see, real spiritual growth does not come from eating 5 grams of mushrooms or doing another ayahuasca retreat. It occurs in the stillness of your daily life, in how you keep your word, and most importantly, how you live into your intentions with glory and excellence. This is where actually brotherhood comes in, where the community comes into play, and where, you gotta go slay some dragons once in a while. So after talking about ayahuasca, I already hear the shouts in the back. Plant medicine is appropriating indigenous cultures. Medicine is dangerous and it causes psychosis. No one needs ritual or drugs, just follow Christ. Medicine, like ayahuasca, is a fad for tech bros and rich white women. I agree with some of these sentiments, but a lot of these sentiments are putting medicine into too narrow of a box. Again, medicine is literally a dimension of existence. It is not a substance. It's a different world that holds archetypes, forces, feelings, and gods, and your subconscious contents of your own mind. And when you can access the world of medicine, you can access the world of your essence and start to release the blocks and distortions that block you from living with maximum peace, power, and play. That's what we're here to do together, my friends. Peace, power, and play. How do we live into that? We need to bring medicine into our daily lives. Depending on the person, different medicine is required at different times. I actually don't recommend doing ayahuasca or some big psychedelic journey unless you're very called to that path. There's many ways to get altered, and honestly, dance, combat, freestyle rapping, and like getting just raw and wild with my friends around a fire, that is my favorite way to have a ritual. But ultimately, in the West today, my friends, we have kept the substances around, but we have lost the ritual. A lot of people do substances by themselves, but they don't know how to get high together. And furthermore, so much of our culture around getting drunk or celebration is without respect and reverence for the sacred center, for the state of your own soul and the capacity to purge things that block you, a deep respect and reverence for the darkness. This is what we need to bring back inside of our containers of getting high together, having ritual space for real communion with each other, with ourselves, and with the divine. That's what I'm dedicated to here on this channel is how do we create human excellence and human flourishing in our own lives and with our people. This is what we need to get in our lives, my friends, and I think medicine and ritual is the foundation of mental health and communal flourishing in general. Always has been. And you can watch this video about the Dionysic experiences of Fight Club, of masculinity, of initiation in the ancient world. So click there. And if you want to connect with me one-on-one and join our community, we're planning our first expedition out into the wild, out into nature, for campfires, for perhaps some of these rituals I spoke about in this video. There's a link below for that. I'll see you there. Peace.